Well, what happened was that second game, we got our ass kicked, or the second half. We just got our ass totally kicked. We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. The second half, we sucked. We couldn't stop the run. Every time they got the ball, they went down and got points. We got our ass totally kicked in the second half. That's what it boiled down to. It was a horse performance in the second half. Horse. I'm totally embarrassed and totally ashamed. Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in that second half. It sucked. It stunk.
Well, what's up, Cowboys Nation, Cowboys Cave? How's that for an intro opener right there, Greg? Does that not kind of sum up what we're going through right now?
Man, that summed it up exactly to the T. You can't sugarcoat it. Can't put no emphasis on it to try to make it smell good. It stinks.
Exactly. It definitely does. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Cowboys Cave here on YouTube, streaming live with my boy Greg. Mike is actually out. He's been doing some things. I mean, you guys seen him at the game on Monday. Him and Cuts by Jones and Mark and the boys were out there. Jay Tuck and them. They was out there, having a good time. And whooping it up, man, whooping it up. So Mike is, has been kind of going all over the place, and he was catching some late flights. I think he caught a red eye somewhere, and he said, K9, can you step up and run the show and bring Greg in there and let Greg co-host with you? And I said, absolutely. Why not bring one of my best guests, one of our co-hosts, not guests, part of the Cowboys Cave family, my boy Greg in here to chop it up, talk a little Cowboys football. How you doing, Greg? How you doing right now?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing fine. I'm still disappointed by the Cowboys. My weeks haven't been as full of energy and that hype and just walking around, with your chest pulled out like I'm accustomed to. I'm walking around deflated. I'm still posting my flag every game week, man. Still doing my videos, but it's just kind of disappointing where we at. Love to see my boys on TV, no matter what, but it's just disappointing, man, especially when the game starts and immediately we start to go downhill. It's just a rough season. It's a rough season.
Yeah. Well, disappointing would be probably my top word to choose when describing this Cowboys team this year. Just disappointing all the way around. Started in the offseason, went through to the draft, in my opinion. I just felt like everything about it was just disappointing. And unfortunately, that's just kind of where we sit right now through the midway point of the season is just disappointing, to say the least. But if anybody of you is new to the show, first of all, thanks for tuning in. Secondly, make sure you like and subscribe, hit that notification button. We're continuing to grow the channel, continuing to get new subscribers. We can't do what we do without you, and we appreciate everybody getting in the chat and being interactive. But let's kick this thing off and let's talk about, what we just witnessed on Monday night. Let's unwrap that first. That we lost to the Texans. Was that any big surprise to you, Greg, going into that game?
Nope.
Did you expect that?
I expected it, but when we started, I expected it, but you bite your nail and say, okay, come on, can we do something? And then all of a sudden, we get that touchdown to Turpin, and then we keep it close. And I said, okay, well, maybe these guys are going to make a game out of this. And as soon as I sat back and said that, everything unraveled. It just unraveled. And to me, Rush, who should have been the captain of the entire game that night, Rush looked unorthodox. He looked scared to me. He looked timid. He looked frightened. He didn't look like the Rush that I'm accustomed to seeing. The Rush I'm accustomed to seeing just goes out there and says, hell, it's on me. Let's just play. He didn't look like that at all. And because he didn't look like that, I can see it in the players, and especially CeeDee Lamb. Because CeeDee Lamb is starting to get on my nerve because things don't go right. It's like that little kid when you're playing in the backyard and everybody's playing and the kid doesn't get that much attention, and then the kid just kind of walks off and lollygags on the sideline and then doesn't really get involved and just sits back and pouts, instead of trying to stand up and be a leader. That's what CeeDee Lamb is doing right now, and it's pissing me off because on the offense, if anybody should be the leader to take up since Dak's gone, it should be CeeDee Lamb, and he's not doing it. He's sitting back. He got paid, and I guess he's back like, and the ball ain't coming to me right. Rush ain't throwing it. I'm just gonna go to the sideline and look at everybody like this. You know, I'm tired of that, man. He needs to step it up. So it was disgusting. It was promising at first, but then it went downhill, and then it just kept going downhill. And before you know it, I was like, oh hell, I gotta watch 3 more quarters of this. And it was just heartbreaking the entire game.
Well, you know, one of the things that stood out to me, like right away in the first quarter, was there was a incorrect route. They were, I don't know if it's incorrect or they were one or the other, but they were just not on the same page. Cooper Rush and CeeDee Lamb, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the announcer said, you know, there's a miscommunication, right? And that was the word that stuck in my head because I thought, how many times this year have we heard the word miscommunication between the quarterback and wide receiver on this team? Even when it was Dak and CeeDee. So something's going on there. I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly what the problem, where the disconnect is, but we've seen that so many times this year where CeeDee is running a route that Dak is not thinking he's going to run.
Mm-hmm.
On a go route, Dak's running a comeback, or CeeDee's running a comeback. Miscommunication has been one of the huge terms, and it's led to turnovers, led to interceptions, running the wrong routes. It's these things like that are discipline issues, in my opinion. And I think discipline always falls back on your leader, regardless. And I think that comes down to Mike McCarthy. And I know a lot of people have been, you know what's the point in firing him right now? You know, wait till the end of the season. And that's fine. If that's what we're doing, that's fine. I don't really think that I don't think that this team is going to do anything this year. So in my opinion right now, what's the worst that can happen? We continue to lose. We get a top 5 pick. But if you ask me today, you know, is Mike McCarthy a problem? I would have to say yes, because he's the leader of this team. And even in the down years, even in the years of the 8-8 Jason Garrett years, even the years of the 5-11, the 3 straight 5-11 seasons with Dave Campo, one of the things that I remembered about those teams still played hard. They weren't embarrassing. Like there was still some, like the defense was fairly solid in some of those. I mean, they seemed to kind of slug it out, keep games close. Every once in a while you'd get a blowout, obviously, because you knew you weren't a great team. But this team is embarrassing. I'm going to be honest with you. They're embarrassing when I watch them. They're embarrassing, and I have never said that about a Dallas Cowboys team that I've watched. I've watched so many seasons of Dallas Cowboys football. But this team right now is embarrassing because just the discipline that they lack, the boneheaded penalties that they make pre-snap. How many times have we seen the Cowboys convert on a 3rd down or get a long 2nd down conversion and convert it into a 1st down only to hear flag on the play? It's coming back. It's holding. It's, you know, somebody jumped off sides. Somebody, you know, it's just boneheaded move after boneheaded move. And that comes down to discipline. And to me, I just think Mike McCarthy, if you look at him, he looks like a defeated man. And I think he's lost the team. I don't buy what the team's saying. I keep hearing the players say, you know, well, we ain't quit on McCarthy. It's not about, we're all out there trying. No, you're not. We're witnessing it. We see it. I think the whole coaching staff is walking the plank right now. They know they're walking the plank. And right now at this point, they're all pointing fingers. They're throwing each other under the bus, and it's not productive. And I don't know about you, but I just think across the board, I think that at the end of this season, they got a clean house. Everybody.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and that's totally from top to the bottom. And when I say top, you know where I'm going, all the way to the top. The problem, even like in the 5-11 seasons with Campo, we had leaders. We had Stepnoski. We had Emmitt Smith. You know, Quincy was even a leader back then. And these guys wanted to play. They wanted to play football. They wanted to win. We just played better teams, and they never could pull it out, but they kept fighting. We got this different type of generational team right now. Football is secondary to these guys. They really don't go out there to play football hard. I think they go on the field and they think about what they're going to do after the game, think about everything else they got going on outside the stadium. None of them are taking charge on the field. None of them are looking like leaders on the field, getting in somebody else's ass and saying, come on, guys, we need to do. They're not doing that. They're all looking for somebody else to step up, and nobody's stepping up. And the person they need to be looking at is themselves. If I'm a rookie on that team, or if I'm a low draft pick or somewhere on that team, I see right now I got an opportunity to be a voice. And I really wanted to play ball. I'd be screaming my ass off on that sideline to wake some of these guys up. It's just like, remember that time Troy walked down the sideline and he was talking to the team. He said, come on, guys, we look like a bunch of blah, 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 blah. We got to play, but we don't have anybody on the team doing that. Even when Dak showed up at the game on crutches or whatever, Dak ain't saying shit. He ain't doing nothing. Nobody's speaking. McCarthy, you're right. He's lost the team. He doesn't have that level of intimidation or fear that the team says, shit, I better get my act together because McCarthy ain't playing. No, they look at him, McCarthy, as he's a coach and he's in this bubble. And nothing he does really affects our motivation or affects us when we're doing something bad. He's trying his best not to be that disciplinary coach, but he has to. Somebody's got to get in some ass, and it's not doing it. And I tell you, like I said, CeeDee Lamb is disappointing me so much. He won't step up and take charge. It's like, well, look, I got my money. I'm the star wide receiver. I'm not going to raise my voice and everything. Hell, I'm probably thinking about where I'm going to spend my money after the game or where I'm going. Nobody is doing it. And I thought Rush would step up, and Rush would at least come in there and try to give us the kind of Rush we saw last year and the year before. Rush, if you look in his eyes and you look how Rush is playing, Rush looks absolutely horrified on that field. And when you're talking about the pass, the miscommunication, CeeDee's not running his routes. And then when he gets caught up in them, he's not trying to recover from them. He's just going through the motions because he fell down on one of those routes. He didn't even try to recover. He just went down with it. And when the ball doesn't come, instead of him saying, you know, on himself or something, he just walks off like this, looking at the sideline like this, like, CeeDee, you have to step up, man. You want to play football. You have to be a football player. Michael came in the game. Michael showed out that first quarter. Michael was chasing the quarterback down. It seemed like Michael over here, the rest of the team is back here. Michael was playing his ass off, trying to restore some of the strength that we need and commitment to try to win this game. And nobody else was doing it. Everybody's just following. You know, the cornerbacks, they're running scared. They're looking at somebody to lead. Nobody's leading. And it can't go without mentioning, we have a multitude of starters that are out. It's almost like our entire starting team, with the exception of one or two people, is out injured. And you definitely can't even give your best opportunity to win without all these players. You know, I'm not making excuses, but we have a multitude of starters that are injured. Cooks is coming back this week. Ferguson is on concussion protocol. Bland won't be coming back. Marshawn Leland is coming back. Guyton might come back. We don't know, but it's still looking bad, man. So I say, give Trey Lance the game. Give him the game. If Rush ain't doing it in the first half, give Trey Lance the game and let it be what it is.
Well, we got a special, well, not a special guest. We got the host with the most up here making an appearance. Are you driving, Mike?
I just got in my car. I just wanted to just say what's up. Can you hear me good?
I can hear you.
Be careful out there.
You're doing a great job, but I wanted to share this on the show because I'm hearing what you're saying, Greg and Kelly, and you guys are 100% right. And you know, I had a great opportunity this weekend to talk to a couple people. I'm not going to say names or anything, but what they told me made me sick about this team. The poison that's in this team. You have coaches that packed it in, that are on one-year deals, that have just kind of said, oh, well, move on. You got players that don't show up to meetings on time, not being part of any film study. And the coaches seem to can't do anything about it. That's why I'm saying it starts with Jerry, and it's a poison. And I wasn't for Bill Belichick, but the more I heard that, the more I'm saying is we need a Bill Belichick, the only person that would be above Jerry. And the first thing that I would do is if I was a coach and this is what they need to do, whoever it ends up being, I'd take one of your four big guys and I'd cut them or trade them. Because you got to send a message to these players, like you were saying, Greg, this stuff can't go on. There's no accountability. And that's why I said is they should just let McCarthy go because he's got no power. His legs have been cut under him. Just put him out of his misery because it's really sad. As a fan, it broke my heart when I'm hearing these stories. But I don't know what you guys feel about it. But I at least wanted to share that. I'm driving, so I don't want to ruin the quality of the show. But I just wanted to put that out there because I wanted to get it out to you, Kelly, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it.
Well, it makes sense now. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, it doesn't really surprise me though. It doesn't surprise me either. I think that, I think that that's just the situation right now. That's pretty shitty, but we're going to get into that a little bit more, but first and foremost, we need to get in here and get into I have another guest here besides Mr. Tag here that's waiting in the wings, and that's none other than Uncle Cheech, our Vegas Insider here. So we're going to bring him onto the show because I think he's got some picks for you guys, for you degenerates out there that like to stick around and watch the cave and gamble. Here we go.
Cheech!
Is up, Uncle Cheech? How is it going, man? You look like you're spry and ready to make some people some money tonight. How's things going down there in Florida?
Oh, good. Had a good week last week again. Ever since Mike's been betting on my picks, I hit every lock. I was 3-1 the week before, 3-1 last week.
Awesome.
Well, there we go. That's what our listeners like. They like to make money, and if you like to make money, this is the place to come because we've got the Vegas Insider who's just on an absolute hot streak right now. So if you're wanting to make money, all you got to do is listen to this man right here because he's got the knowledge, he's got the wisdom, he's got the inside information from Vegas. So, Cheech, what do you got for us this week? What are the slate of games we got, and what games are you picking?
Well, I want to talk about that fight a little bit.
Oh, okay. We're going to get into a little bit of Tyson, the Tyson fight, right? If you can call it that.
I was planning on going out there, me and the whale. He chartered a private jet. Then I get a phone call from my friend Sally in Las Vegas. He's the one that had the boxer. I told you the story that in Philly, they got knocked stiff in the first round.
Yeah.
He called me up and he said, I got some inside information. He said, I talked to Vinny Smaldone. He said, you guys are flying out for the fight. He said, try to sell your ticket. He said, I got some, something's going down. He said, sell your ticket. So I did. And we stayed home and watched it on TV instead.
That was smart. That was really smart.
You saved you some good money there.
I
watched that fight, and there's a lot of people that say that fight was rigged. Cheech, what do you think about that? You think that fight was rigged?
It's possible. I can't say. I'm not going to answer any questions. Remember the old Sicilian proverb: a fish that keeps his mouth closed doesn't get caught.
I hear that.
There you go. All right, now we're dropping some wisdom right here. We're not only dropping some facts about gambling, we got some gangster wisdom right there. Let me tell you what. That's some G stuff for y'all folks in the chat. But yeah, you know what was sad to watch on that fight real quick? It's saddened me to watch because I remember what Tyson was. Yeah. And I think there's a reason why 60-year-old boxers don't box because you just don't. You don't got the legs. You don't have the stamina. And no matter how much we respected Tyson, I knew before going into this fight it was going to be a spectacle. It was a money grab. And
well, they grabbed the money, that's for sure.
Yep. They did. Yep. They both got paid, and really the only ones that lost were the people that had to watch it. But the girl fight before was pretty entertaining.
That was the best fight.
It was the best
other
fight of the night.
before that was good too. The championship.
Yeah, the two, the guys.
Right.
But Mike, the problem is Mike and Jake are friends. They're friends, and Mike stand to get $20 million from that. It was just a money grab for Mike. Plus, the only reason I think everybody sold out that stadium and everybody wanted to watch this, because 3 or 4 months ago when the fight was originally supposed to start, remember when they showed Mike Tyson how fit he was and how he was in the ring sparring, and everybody said, oh man, if he doesn't fight anymore after this fight, this is going to be one last fight where he's going to be in real good shape. And this time when it got delayed, he came back, he was still in shape. And then when they showed him at the weigh-in, where he got up and slapped Jake, and he still looked like he was in shape. He was quick, and he had that look on his face. I said, Mike's going to go in there. Mike's going to be, for one last time, Mike is going to show us the Mike we used to see. And then he got in there and got out of breath after about 30 seconds, and that was it. It was just hanging on, just to go the rounds. That was
a lot of hugging.
I was out of breath. I'm glad I saved my money. I had a better time watching on TV. Save the whale money too.
I'm glad. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did.
Let me get out of my picks now. That my first one's going to be FIU and Kennesaw State. I bet Kennesaw State last week. I bet Kennesaw State the week before. They were 0-6. Now they're 1-7, but they still covered. So as long as there's water in the well, I'm going to keep dipping. Take Kennesaw State +9 at home.
All right. Kennesaw State. I can't say I've seen any of their games, so I couldn't say one way or another. But I'm gonna put the money where you say.
They hit for me 3 times. Actually, the one game first one I bet them, they were 18-point underdog, 0-6. The team they played was 6-0, and they won outright.
Oh wow, nice.
That was a real good pick. Okay, Kansas City -11 at Carolina. I'll give 11. Kansas City's not happy over that loss. Carolina stinks. They can run it up if they want to. I think that's pretty safe.
Yeah, I think that's a smart bet. I think Kansas City. Man, I will say this. I do know that they said a stat after that Kansas City game. Buffalo has beaten Kansas City the last 4 times they've played them in the regular season.
Yeah.
Still have yet to beat them in the postseason. Right. So I'm not buying on Buffalo. Yeah, I'm not buying on Buffalo until I see it in the postseason, man. I got to see them do it. They're going to have to go through KC, in my opinion.
I think it's going to be the same old story.
I think so, too. More of the same.
I had a good pick. I took Denver last week over Atlanta. I ruffled Jimmy's feathers a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I saw that one. I saw that game coming.
And that was
that one coming.
Cheech, my girlfriend is actually a Denver Broncos fan, so I've watched a lot of the Denver games this year. And I will say one of the things I've been most surprised with is their quarterback. I think Bo Nix he should arguably be up there with for offensive rookie of the year as well. He's putting up similar numbers. He's got more touchdowns than Jaden Daniels right now. And I think he's got 3 more picks, but he's got 4 more touchdowns.
The defense is solid too. He really turned that team around in a short period of time.
And they when he was at Auburn, because I got a lot of friends in Alabama that are Auburn fans. He was at Auburn. They were calling him trash bucket, garbage can. He went and then he left and went to Oregon, and he was the man. And then I was thinking, okay, now he's gonna get to the NFL. Cinderella slipper gonna fall off, and then he's gonna go right back to trash. But he's been everything other than that. He's been the best. So it's something in the water in Auburn that a lot of quarterbacks don't need to drink, because when they leave, when they leave and go somewhere else and drink the water, they seem to revive. So if you want to go to Auburn quarterback, don't drink the water.
Yeah.
Okay, my upset this week is going to be Ole Miss at Florida. Florida played well last week. They're at home again. I don't know if they're going to win, but they're getting 10 points. So I'll take Florida at home as an upset special.
So let me ask you this, because you might have it on your list. What are you picking the Miami game?
I don't pick my team.
Oh, okay.
It's like I'm not allowed to pick any Dallas games because I could really make money on them this year.
Oh God, man! I'll tell you what. If you put
You'll make some money off us.
hey, if you got a parlay and you want an automatic, just bet Dallas for the loss as your
Yeah.
put Dallas in your parlay to lose. Bet the house on it. I was telling somebody the other day. I said I almost feel like when they play a team that I know is just going to trounce them, I almost want to just put up $1,000 every time because may take 1,000 to win 500 on that game, but it's like Dallas is going to lose. They were a 7-point dog versus Houston, and I knew for a fact I was like, oh, I can bet my paycheck on this, but at the same time, it's also the Dallas Cowboys, and if they know how to do anything, it's to rip my heart out. So if I'd have bet that money, they probably would have kept it within 7 and maybe lost by 3.
I'm not a betting man. Never been. But if I were to bet on one game, Cowboys this year, I would put a lot of money, on the Giants to beat the Cowboys in Dallas this year.
Oh, yeah.
That's the game. I think, even though I won't, I never bet against my Cowboys. That's why I say I'm not a betting man ever. But if I were, that game would be the game. If somebody out there is thinking, I'm about to break the bank because I'm going to put some money on those Giants to beat the Cowboys this year with DeVito, and they're probably going to do it.
You can bet on almost anybody to beat the Cowboys this year.
Yeah, but see, that Giants game is surprising.
I think they're underdog next week, too.
Yeah.
The Redskins.
Oh, yeah, big time. Oh,
yeah, I believe so. I think
whatever. Commanders, the Redskins, as far as I'm concerned.
I call them Redskins all the time too. In fact, I know a lot of people that just call them Redskins. That was their name, and I feel like that's what half of America still calls them, and the former players still call themselves Redskins. So Redskins, Commanders, whatever. So, but you guys got the picks. You guys go.
I'm going to give you my lock now.
Oh, he's got the lock. Now, what is the thing that Mike's putting up? He's rolling this money, right? He's rolling this money and going to split it.
He quit doing that. Every time he bet, I lost.
Oh, he quit. He quit. I thought he put that back on. Okay.
I've been on a roll ever since.
All right. Well, let's hear the lock. Let's hear the lock, Chief.
Lock New England at Miami. I'll take Miami minus 7.5. New England's not that good. Miami's starting to come around a little bit.
Yeah.
They're getting a big snowstorm up in New England. It's going to be cold as hell. It's going to be like a heat wave when they come down here.
Oh, yeah. That heat always gets them in Miami because it's thick.
I'll take Miami, give 7.5.
And they got Tua back. They got Tua back. Yeah. They got Tua back, so I can see that too.
Yeah, if he went back, I wouldn't even touch the game.
So Frank said, can you – it's a trip. Frank said, y'all see the ticket prices against the Giants, lower sections, 50-yard line, $200. Damn. Damn. You know what? If I lived in Dallas, I would pay that just not for the game, just to be there and see if I can get some pictures, some selfies, and autographs by the players since I can get on the 50-yard line.
I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's funny to watch how drastic those tickets have come down. I mean, I was seeing some of the tickets for the just this Monday night game that passed that you could get lower level on level 1, which is your lowest level. Get level 1 tickets for like $250, and it's a Monday night game. It wasn't 50-yard line, but it was like about the 20 to 30-yard line. And I'm like, normally those tickets are like $700-800 a piece.
Did you see all the empty seats?
That's what they are when you're winning.
Yeah,
they are when you're winning.
I noticed all the empty seats during the game when they start showing the crowd. I mean, around the stadium, I've never seen AT&T with that many empty seats on all levels on that Monday night game. That was pathetic.
Yeah. Well, the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight sold out more than the damn Cowboys did.
Yeah, they sold it out.
And you know what's funny is even with them selling out, I'd say that the final thing that everybody was waiting to see was Paul and Tyson. It was about the same level of excitement as most of the Dallas Cowboys games that have been played this year.
Yeah, the anticipation build up gets you. And then all of a sudden, the letdown.
Anticipation, hype, and just a little bit of a fizzle.
Yep. Hey, Cheech, let me ask you this real quick, because I'm so pissed at this college ranking thing, and because this is why Notre Dame is not in any damn conference. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois at home. Why in hell is Notre Dame number 6? I cannot fathom that whatsoever.
Because they travel well. They sell tickets.
That's the only reason.
That's the
only reason. You can't justify Notre Dame number 6. I don't care if you were blind, crippled, and crazy. I don't see it. I don't see it. I can't believe it. They came out with it last night. I was like sitting here saying, they never want to get in a conference. They lost at home to Northern Illinois, and they ranked them number 6.
Well, you remember Miami was an independent for a long time.
For a long time. But then again, Miami came out and proved themselves. Then they got in the Big East. Then they started playing the ACC. But Notre Dame, it's like team.
They sell tickets. So they travel well. They're most watched team on TV. College team, more than likely. Just like Dallas is probably the most watched professional team.
And that's why I say the NCAA commission is crooked. The NCAA commission is crooked.
It's in our hand. We got to win out and win the conference.
We have to win out.
And it's up to you. Got to keep winning. That's the bottom line. Notre Dame could be in. They don't win, they're out. So
we got to win both games too. We got to win.
I'll tell you guys this a little story that ties into Notre Dame. So Notre Dame this weekend plays Army, who's ranked number 18th. Army is 9-0 right now.
Yep.
The quarterback for Army is actually a kid that graduated from the school that I graduated from back in Texas, little town of Abernathy, Texas, right outside of Lubbock, Texas. He's the quarterback, Bryson Daly. That should be a good game. I think it'll be a good game. I know that Notre Dame, they destroyed, I think it was Air Force when they played that.
Navy
was they beat.
Where they playing at, Kelly?
I believe they are playing. I think they're playing at Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah. If they playing in Notre Dame might pull that out.
Yeah, well, they might, but I just say this: if that kid from the quarterback over there, if he can pull that off, he's been talked about, and he's not. I wouldn't say he's in the Heisman conversation, but they've talked about him as being on the bubble of it with his performance. He's done some. He's almost rushed for 1,000 yards.
I'll be rooting for Army. I root for everybody against Notre Dame.
I'll be watching that game, and I know now that I know what you guys are needing there, I'll be rooting for Army as well.
Because until Notre Dame gets up their cowardly butt and join a conference, they are pooty poop.
Yeah.
Sick of that. Number 6.
Well, there you go. It's I would say this. I don't know if you had to pick the game though, but Cheech, if you're not picking it as far as what you think money wise, but if the Notre Dame and Army game, who you thinking? You leaning Notre Dame on that?
And real quick, Cheech, one of the guys said that they're playing in Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
Home game for Army. What's the spread on that game? That's the key.
I don't know.
You know what?
Because I didn't even look. Because I was thinking about picking that team as the upset special, taking Army.
You know
what? I took Navy, and they got killed. So.
Yeah.
Navy got
let me just look this up real quick. I'll see what the spread is.
If it's double digits, it's worth a look. It should be.
Let's see. I bet you it probably is, because after what Notre Dame did, they play that unconventional offense they do. So let's see. Yeah, 14. Notre Dame's getting 14.
I'd take a shot. Couple bucks.
Yeah. Couple bucks. All right. Well, that's what I was needing to know, man. I can't have the Vegas Insider come on the show and give out this and not get a little something extra that I might be vested in. Want to throw a little bit of skidoo down on. So, well, Cheech, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for giving out them great picks.
Oh, you're
Cheech. There you go. Here we go.
I'm back. I appreciate Uncle Cheech. And
all right, guys.
Yeah. Give me some wins. Give me some wins.
Have a good night, Cheech.
All right.
All right.
Welcome back, Mike. You made it. You're off the red eye. You're changed into some Cowboys gear. You're ready to do this. Let's throw down, man.
I joined you for the last half hour.
So here's the thing: where we left off, we did not get a chance to address what you had said. We've been talking with Cheech since that moment. So I don't want to skip over that because I think what you said there. I just want you to reiterate because there's been a few more people that joined. So just kind of go over real quick what you said before you went, because I definitely want to get into that in terms of what I think of that, what Greg thinks of that, and also your opinion as well. So.
Yeah, because I really wanted to get you guys' opinion on it with the flight. But
yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
We had the opportunity to talk to some people over the weekend, and confidentially, not saying names, but what I heard just really made me sick. When you heard about players that are showing late to practice, that don't show up to meetings, that during the bye week didn't watch any film. I mean, and the coaches their legs are kind of cut under them. They can't do anything about it. Some coaches have already thrown in the towel and just kind of like threw their hands up and just kind of done with it. The team is poisoned. And what I was saying is I was against Bill Belichick. I'm like, man, I just don't want to go down that route. But I don't know any other coach, maybe Variable, but, maybe Dion, we can go down that road. But I don't know another coach that would be able to send a message and get above Jerry to send a message, because this culture is destroyed with this team this year. I'm just being straight up and being honest. It was disgusting. And, and I say this, and I'm not going to pick on any players because I don't want to see any player go. But you think about what Parcells did. You think about what Peyton did. You think about what these coaches do. Whoever comes in here needs to send a message to this team that enough's enough, and they need to trade or cut one of their top 4 players. It could be Parsons, CD, Diggs, or Dak. Now, more than likely, Dak and CD wouldn't be the guys. Parsons, I doubt they're going to do that. So that leaves Diggs. But there has to be some sort of message sent that this is not going to be tolerated. Nobody's untouchable, because the problem that Jerry is given, he's given the perception to these players that they're untouchable, that there's no accountability. And that's why I put out that tweet. Put McCarthy out of his misery. I know he's going to fall in sort of, I know he's done wrong, but you talk about penalties and minimums. Why was Green Bay during his tenure one of the lowest penalized teams during his tenure? And all of a sudden they're the most penalized. Is it him or is it the culture? And that's really what I wanted to get your guys' opinion on, about kind of what, and Cuts was there, and Mikey heard it, some of the conversations, and it was just unfortunate. It was really unfortunate.
And now that just kind of completes the circle for me, because in my hype video I did last week, and then interweek when we lost, I did a follow-up. I said players are going to start doing making business decisions, because they see where the season is. They see we're not going anywhere. I said players are going to be out there. They're just going to be playing to make business decisions. What I mean is they're going to be playing not to get hurt. They're going to be playing not to overexert themselves to try to win a game, something, because they want to make sure that they're healthy for next season, whether it be with the Cowboys or somebody else. And they see that everybody else on the team is defeated and nobody's stepping up to rile in all of the family. So they're like, look, I'm going out there. It's going to be a business decision for me. If I got to hit somebody and I see an opportunity where I might get hurt, I'm not going to hit them hard. I'm not going to tackle them hard. I'm not going to go all out. I'm just going to preserve my body so I can be ready for Dallas or somebody else next year. And now it makes sense. If the culture's gone, if they're not showing up for meetings, if the poison is there and nobody's accountable, and Mike McCarthy can't rein him in. Remember, Kelly, I said Mike looks like the guy that's in the bubble over here and everybody's over here and Mike has no authority over him. Then that explains it right there. That's the nail in the coffin. These guys are doing business decisions now. It's me for me, and we're just showing up because football is not my number one thing right now. It's everything I'm looking forward to after the game. So now they just circles wagging. That tells me exactly where they're at now. And it's a shame, because now hearing that, when I watch the games now, I'm going to be able to see it a lot more in each player and see where all of this non-culture and this nobody stepping up, taking charge, why it is. And it's so permeated that they just want to hurry and get the season over with. With that said, we may not win another one of these 7 games.
Well, It's funny because I said, and I said this weeks and weeks ago before we even kind of started talking like this. I said it looked like this team quit. In fact, I think it was that video, the one that I went that kind of blew up. It was, I just went off on this rant and I was saying how the team quit, the coach quit, everybody quit. And at the end of it, I'm like, fuck you, Jerry. I went off on a big ass rant. It was a rant that kind of blew up. I felt that. I saw, because you look at the fact that what I said earlier, it goes back to when we started the show. I talked about the word miscommunication. How many times have we seen that word, miscommunication? It's the receiver running the wrong route. It's the quarterback throwing where he thinks the wide receiver should be, but he's not there because he ran a different route. These are all things that are simplistic shit. These are things that should have been fixed in training camp. These should have been things that you come in tight. Your number one wide receiver is not running wrong routes. That's not something you should be seeing. You shouldn't hear miscommunication. You should be getting miscommunication. And if you do, it definitely shouldn't be on a week-to-week basis, and it definitely should be multiple times per game. We see this. We've been seeing this shit all season. So while I do think it's sad to hear it, what did we really think was going to happen when Jerry did absolutely nothing to fix our weaknesses? He put Mike McCarthy on a lame duck coach. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm coming to the conclusion where I believe Jerry wanted to tank this season. I really do. For what end? I have no fucking clue. None. I have no idea why he would do that, because I feel like if he made the moves to address weaknesses, if he shored up some certain things, I think that this team could have been contending again in the playoffs. But instead, we're talking about being a team that can pick in the top 5 of the draft. And to me, that is crazy. But it's almost like you can't convince me otherwise, because who would intentionally not make these moves? It's almost like Jerry Jones just was like, I want to tank the season. I want to do. And if that's the case, why sign Dak? Why sign CD? That's what don't make sense. None of it makes sense. It's like, I feel like, you ever seen Anchorman, and when Ron Burgundy says, like, I'm in a class case of emotion. That's how I feel for this whole damn season, because I'm trying to make sense of it. And I can't for the life of me make sense of it to say a smart GM that knows football, a guy that's been around as long as Jerry's been around, has to know better. He had to have known, by him not making these moves, by him not extending McCarthy, by him waiting to sign CD, by him waiting to sign Dak, bad shit was going to happen. This is not the way you run a franchise. I have to believe that Jerry's smarter than that. So again, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know where he's going at, but it seems like a lot of self-sabotage going on with the Cowboys this year. It really does.
Kelly, but see, you said the op word, a smart GM. What would a smart GM be? Let's look at this screen. You're the GM. I'm player personnel. Mike's assistant GM. You make those smart moves because of us, because you have input from the rest of your staff. But when you wear all the hats and you micromanage everything, there's no way you can be successful. There's no way you can be that smart guy with all these years of experience, and then all of a sudden you put it together and you can make it happen. You can't, because you don't have the creativity. You don't have the experience that these other GMs and player personnel know how to go out there and get players, how to go out there and say, look, Jerry, I'm going to grab you by your collar. Go get Derrick Henry, damn it. And then the other assistant GM come in. Jerry, you need to do this. Jerry goes in an empty room and talks to himself, and he comes out with the lamest decisions you can ever think about. And he's so narcissist that he will never, ever admit to anybody. I bet he even looks in the mirror. You know how they say you can fool everybody, but you can't fool yourself when you look in the mirror. I bet he even looks in the mirror and thinks he's fooling himself with that bullshit that he comes up with. There's no way Jerry's ever going to be successful that way if he continues. He's going to get the same results. And right now, like Mike was saying, bringing in a Belichick, I wasn't for a Belichick either, because my sense was Belichick's going to come in hardcore and he's going to lose the players like Tom Coughlin did before Michael Strahan and them riled him in, and he had to come to Jesus with him. And all of a sudden, he kind of got a little milder, and then next thing you know, they start winning. We have to clean house. The only one I would not clean is our DB coach. I would not I would not let him go.
I disagree with you only because whoever coach, because see, that's the problem with Dallas. That's the problem with Jerry. Oh, this is going to be your coordinator. These are your coaches. If the new coach comes in and says he's got to go, well, I'm sorry, because he's from my hometown. He grew up in my neighborhood. He's got to go too. You have to allow a coach to come in and do what he's got to do, good, bad, or indifferent. You got to let the coach do it his way. His way, his players. That's it. And I love Al Harris. And I think he's a bright young coach, but that's the only thing I would say. Now, if he wants to keep him, I'm all for it.
If it's his decision. Yeah, he does have to be able to bring in whoever he wants.
And here's my thing too. Here's my thing as well when it comes to that. You look at any big industry or big company that comes in and does a takeover and buys a company out. I've been a part of two of them, and I've actually been the only manager to survive in both of them. I don't know how, man. I got a horseshoe stuck in my ass, but 95% of the time, if they come into a place that's poorly run, and I think that's probably why ours was done, because ours wasn't really poorly run. That wasn't why we got bought out. But if you take over something that's poorly run, right? Poor culture, cancerous people, bad apples left, you don't cut out part of the cancer. You cut all the cancer out. And I'm not saying that Al Harris is a cancer by any means, but if this coach comes in and he's like, you know what, I don't want no part of the last regime in here because I don't even want a hint of this soft ass country club mentality left in the building. I'm getting rid of it all. That's where I would be in terms of if somebody came in, a coach, and he's like, everybody's gone. I said it last week. I said it for the last couple of weeks. I've said that Jerry's got to let whoever comes in, he's got to let them pick his own guys, top to bottom, because if you want to build a culture, you need like-minded individuals. I think that's why part of the reason why we're at right now. I don't think Mike Zimmer was a Mike McCarthy hire. I don't really think they work very well together. You hear Mike McCarthy. He talks about, he's damn near throwing shots at Jerry Jones when they talk about, and that's the thing. When you talk about a coach who's got his legs cut out of him, they're asking him, why didn't you sign Derrick Henry? And he's basically talking about, well, those are financial decisions that weren't up to me. Your head coach should absolutely have a say in who the hell you're signing in free agency. Do you think Derrick Henry is a good fit on this team? Yeah, I think that's a pretty damn good idea. You know what I'm saying? I can guarantee you if Jerry went and asked Mike McCarthy, do you think we should go out and try to get Derrick Henry? Mike McCarthy would have said, hell yes. In a heartbeat. I don't think that had shit to do with Mike McCarthy. I think Jerry Jones was just like, for whatever reason, he decided, you know what? I'm out on everything. I'm blowing it up. And, the latest thing that I wanted to get you guys' opinion on, because it's a topic and it's heating up and it's starting to look like it could become a reality. Talked about it a little bit on last week's show. Me and Mike did. They've talked about Deion Sanders to the Cowboys, which he has said, nope, I'm good. I like Colorado. But a video just recently came out of Michael Irvin speaking with Colin Cowherd. I don't know if you've heard this yet or seen it or not, but Colin Cowherd says he believes that if the Cowboys were to draft Shedeur Sanders, which in my opinion, we'll get into that, but they said he believes if he drafts Shedeur Sanders, that Deion Sanders would absolutely come along as head coach. And Michael Irvin says he has it on very good sources, and I believe his sources are Deion, because he literally spent the week on talking to Deion, that if the Cowboys drafted Shedeur, Deion would come on as head coach. So what was once looked at as no way in hell, now you've got Michael Irvin saying this and saying from very good sources. And the way he said it, if you haven't seen the video, go watch it. The way Michael Irvin says, very good source, he's talking about Deion. So what do you guys think about that? I want y'all's opinion on that.
But I'm gonna tell you this. I can see Jerry Jones jumping on that like a fly on shit only because it's money. It's gonna bring all kind of media attention. It's gonna bring all kind of revenue through there. And when you start talking about something that can bring dollars in versus the quality of the team to win, Jerry's going to always go for profit. Always, always, always. Nothing against Deion. Nothing against Shedeur. But I don't want to see it. I want an experienced coach. I want a hungry team. I want a different culture from an experienced coach who knows how to bring it in and bring his staff and change that culture. I don't want a circus. I don't want a circus where Deion will come in with Shador, and of course, their intentions are good. But Jerry will push that and propose it and flower it up like a circus to make money. And he wouldn't give a damn about winning or losing or bringing people in. The only question I have about the Belichick situation is, well, it's two. Number one, will Jerry really hire Belichick, knowing Belichick's demeanor and how Belichick's not going to sit back and cow down to a Jerry? And if he does, will Jerry give Belichick full support like he's supposed to, stay out of his damn business, let him run that coaching staff and that team without getting involved and getting narcissists and messing it up like he did with Jimmy Johnson? That's what I'm afraid of if he goes and gets Belichick. But if he goes out and get anybody other than Belichick, it's because he feels safe getting somebody that'll cow down to him, and then we're all back over again to the same old BS. So if he gets Belichick, I will be shocked. Number two, if he allows Belichick to run that team the way he wants, I would be shocked, flabbergasted, but highly, highly happy and joyful for it. I don't see it. Jerry's 80-some years old? He's not changing his stripes. There's no way that he's going to go on his dying breath doing the same narcissistic shit he's doing now. It's never going to change until Jerry leaves.
Yeah. I mean, I would say this on Deion, and I've said it. I love Deion. I mean, who doesn't love Deion if you're an NFL fan and from our era? If you were going to say you get Deion and not Shador, Deion was coming, I'd entertain it. I really would, only because I think you'd have to set him up, and he would set himself up with the right coaches. You'd have to have a strong offensive coordinator, because Deion's not an X and O guy. You know what I mean? Like that kind of coach. He's going to be a guy, accountability, culture. He can do all that. If you're bringing his son, then what have we been bitching about for all these years about nepotism? You got Jerry, now it's Steven, this Joe. If you bring in Deion and his son, do you think Deion is going to bench his son? Do you think Deion is going to trade his son? Do you think Deion is going to cut his son? Do you think that if Deion gets fired, how do you think his son is going to react? You have just created the biggest circus and the biggest problem that you have. I think for Shador, for his career, he needs to go somewhere where his dad is, and build his own legacy and not have that shadow over him. And I think Deion should build his own without his son. Now, Deion is a college guy. He changes lives and men. He wants to impact these young guys. If he comes to the NFL, he's going to want to get rid of most of the players. He can't bring his own luggage. So now you're going to be in salary cap hell, because you just can't. I mean, there's repercussions. You're not cutting Dak Prescott in anytime soon. You're going to kill yourself. It's going to be 2 years. I don't have a problem with them drafting a quarterback if they end up with a top 3 or 4 pick, only because you saw how it worked with the Packers for the last few times. You know, Dak, you just don't know. And how many times are the Cowboys going to get up there? So I think the marriage, I don't like. If it was separate, I wouldn't honestly have an issue with either one coming separately to the team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, if Shador came instead of Deion, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because he can be a quarterback being developed for the future. But if Deion came and not Shador, I wouldn't like it, because Deion can mold young kids in college. But these are grown men in the NFL. They're not going to want to listen to Deion. They're not going to want to listen to him like these young kids do. And it's going to cause some friction. And Deion's immediately going to go after him. And then everything implodes.
Yeah, and I think, for the record, I think that what I think is I don't think it'll happen. I think it's fun to talk about. I do think that Deion probably does have some interest in coaching for the Cowboys if his son went there. I do think maybe he's expressed that to some people. My whole thing is, though, that when it comes to that, one, if you brought on Shador and you brought on Deion, is Dion going to actually let Sanders sit behind Dak Prescott for a year? Because right now you've got Dak Prescott. What I don't think a lot of people understand is you are not moving on from Dak Prescott next year. You're just not. It's he's got a no trade clause.
3 years, maybe.
Even if he decides to waive that no trade clause, you've got him in a terrible situation because you just made him the highest paid player in the NFL. He's in his 40s. He's got a bunch of dead money that we probably would end up having to eat. Then that keeps you from being able to make maybe the moves that you would want to make if you were going to draft a rookie to start immediately. So if you get a guy like Sanders, or if you got a guy, say Cam Ward, if you draft any QB within the top 10, first 10 picks I'm not against that. I'm not saying I'm against drafting a quarterback, but I am against drafting a quarterback and starting him his rookie season when you just signed Dak Prescott to that deal. Like it, hate it, love it, whatever your opinion is on Dak Prescott, he's the starting quarterback in 2025. I don't see nothing changing that at all, period.
I think it's at least 2 years. At least
probably,
2 years.
At least.
Probably your guy for 2026 as well. So your best hope is to get a good coach in here, to get a good head coach, good offensive coordinator, a good defensive coordinator, some young staff that can re-energize this franchise. If it's Belichick, I'm not going to say that I would absolutely hate it. He's not my number one choice right now.
Right.
I wouldn't hate it. Whoever you get in has to be an accountability guy. He has to be a disciplinarian. He has to be one of those guys that is going to get in your ass, that's going to hold you accountable, a Dan Campbell kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like that. That's what I say. Vrabel, I think, would probably be another a good coach like that. But somebody that can really instill that physicality in this team, not only physicality, but also accountability, and let you know that you're not going to be missing practices or showing up late to practice. You're not going to miss meetings. You're not going to be running wrong routes in week 8, week 9 of the season, running wrong routes. It's inexcusable. You're not going to be having these pre-snap penalties where guys are lined up in the wrong spots, or you're not going to be trouncing out 12 guys on the field on a 3rd and 4. Things that have just been happening with this Cowboys team, that why I say at the beginning of the show, Mike, right before you jumped on, I said, it's one of the first times I've been embarrassed by a Cowboys team in very long memory. If it happened a long time ago, I can't remember it, but I'm embarrassed by this team, by what I see, because I can't even sit there and come out and say that the team plays hard, because they don't look like they're playing hard. Yeah. They look like there's times where they're half-assing it. It looks like there's several guys on here that quit. There's guys that are pointing fingers. After the loss, what rubs me wrong is certain things that me and Mike are always talking about. We're talking about optics. After the game, you got CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs get filmed in a club afterwards, celebrating, dancing like it's all good. Now, I'm not saying these guys can't have a life.
Right.
But could you wait a couple days to go out to the club? Did you have to do it after the day you just got your ass stomped by the Houston Texans in your own house again, I might add? Not only is the Cowboys season falling apart, the goddamn roof is falling apart on this thing. It's so damn bad.
Yeah.
I'm sick of the shit, man. I'm sick of it.
And I'll tell you this and get your opinion, because I think you were talking about the Broncos with Uncle Cheech, if I caught it. Think about, and this is, really think about it. The Cowboys, they got talent. They just need a culture shock, right? The Denver Broncos were in hell. Mm-hmm. They gave up all those draft picks for Russell Wilson. They had Russell Wilson. It was terrible. They bring in Sean Payton. It was a rough year for Sean Payton the first year. Make no mistake about it. But he had to change it. Russell Wilson, we're not. You ain't doing shit no more. Get out. He got rid of Russell Wilson. That was done. They had no draft picks. They were in cap hell because of the Russell Wilson, right? All this stuff. They go out in a draft. You get a Bo Nix. You get some guys. Change that culture. The defense was still there. They just needed a kick in the ass. They get it. Now you're looking at a Bronco team that's a playoff team. Yeah. And they turned it around in a year and a half. And so it can be done, but you've got to get the right person to lead the ship, and that person has to be allowed to lead the ship. And I don't know if Jerry's going to do it. When they hit rock bottom, you guys were around for those 5 and 11 years. Yep. They hit rock bottom, things were low. He made that drastic move and got Parcells. Parcells brought his guys in. He brought his coaches in. He brought his players in. And Dan Campbell was always a Parcells guy. He was a tight end. You had the running back, Richie Anderson. He was a Parcells guy. He came in. Vinny Testaverde. He sprinkled a couple defensive guys in for his system to provide his culture. That's what the Cowboys have to do. That's what Jerry has to allow to do. But what Jerry can't do is screw it up like he did with Parcells, because what did he do? He just loved it so much. Parcells was bringing that culture. I'm going to go get T.O. Now, we all love T.O. T.O. But that was the end of Parcells, and then it brought us right back down into the circus. And like you said, Greg, man, maybe I'm old. I just want a football team. I get so envious of the Chiefs. I get so envious of the Steelers. I get so envious of these teams that, man, it's just about football. It's about winning, and it's business, and it's culture and everything else. And it's just not that way anymore. You know, it had been that way in a long time in Dallas, but maybe we're getting older, getting crotchety. It's getting old. I mean, it's really getting tired.
You know, and the problem with that is there's not that many culture changing coaches out there and available. There's, you know, Peyton's gone. He's already over here. You got
Dan Campbell.
Andy Reid is over here. Dan Campbell is over here. Yeah. You got the coach for Green Bay, the coach for the 49ers. Those folks aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But I think, who was it?
Ben Johnson. You're talking about Ben Johnson.
Edgar mentioned on there who I was thinking about. Ben Johnson. I don't know if Ben Johnson would leave Detroit, but
he'd leave.
But here's the problem.
For head coach.
He's going to, if he leaves, he'll be picked before the season is over to be the next head coach of a team. And Jerry's not going to go and pick anybody before the season's over. So Ben Johnson will be off. He'll be off the market. And then Vrabel is good, but I'm concerned. Will Vrabel come in and be able to compete with Jerry's narcissism? Will Vrabel cow down to Jerry and allow himself to be a puppet with Jerry? Belichick, I don't see himself allowing that. But then again, I don't see Jerry allowing himself to give that much power to Belichick. Because even now, the way Jerry talks at press conferences, to me, I don't see any urgency in Jerry's attitude that he really gives a damn about doing something for next year to really go out there and bring this together. Hopefully, with all the scrutiny he got this year, more so in the media's eye than he has in the past, especially after that radio host situation, maybe he might say, damn it, the spotlight is on me now more than there's ever been before, and the whole world knows it's my fault. Let me finally put my ego aside and go out there and get somebody and shut my mouth. Unless he's willing to do that, I can see another washed up coach coming in. And if he does, it's going to be the same pick and pay that he's been doing in the past. And then we'll be disappointed again. We have the talent. We need the culture shock. We need the culture shock. I don't know what coaches are out there now established that we know can come in, because I was hoping Sean Payton was the one that Jerry got in the offseason, and he didn't. And next thing you know, Sean Payton goes to Denver, which really disappointed me because I wanted him to come back home because I knew he could change mine. Sean Payton would go out there and kick some ass and put people off the team. But I don't see it, guys. I really don't. And all I have is that hope that next season something's going to shock and surprise us, and it's going to bring the team to where we want it. But right now, we got a bunch of kids on the team, no maturity. I said to Kelly when we started the show tonight, doesn't look like these guys come out to play football. They're thinking about what they're going to do after they leave the stadium. None of them are showing any maturity. None of them are even showing like this. I'm the man on the team. And when I heard that story about Zeke, that sealed it. If anybody on the team was going to have a level of maturity and try to set the example for guys, it would have been Zeke. Hell, if Zeke ain't showing up for the meetings and stuff like they were saying he was, and that's why they didn't take him to that game, then I know there's nobody else on the team. And where's Tank? Tank's quiet. You don't see Tank on the sideline over there trying to get him in anybody's behind. There's nobody out there. And Dak summed it up against Atlanta when they caught him saying, we effing suck. And I know all of them saw it too later in the highlights. So they know if Dak says that, we already know it. I don't see anybody around here trying to motivate me. Who's the captain of the team? Who's the leader? Oh, well, I'm going to go out and make a business decision. Hell, I'm trying to preserve myself to go somewhere else next year. That's where we're at.
The $1 million question, though, is the thing is what happened this year going to be enough to change the way that Jerry handles things? Because you talked about hiring a head coach and wanting to be able to go out and do that with urgency. Well, if the last 365 days is an indicator of anything, then Jerry Jones has been anything but urgent. So it begs the question to. I know a lot of people coming in here, even during a crappy, a shitty season. Let's just say what it is. We're adults. We can handle that word. But we got 178 people in the chat that have continued to show up and to talk football with us. So we appreciate that for each and every one of you. Make sure you like and subscribe if you have not already. But it just shows you that people are always looking for some kind of hope. They're looking for just some sliver of positivity, and sometimes we have to find it within ourselves. But that begs the next question that I want to ask to you guys, which is, do you see this team? Obviously, we're going nowhere this year. Do you see it as a possibility that bringing in a new coach and having a high draft pick, having several of the higher round draft picks next year, do you see that being enough to turn this team around? If Jerry Jones does a 180, and if he decides that he's going to be active in free agency, if he decides that he's going to get a coach, and he decides that he's going to let that guy, get the draft picks, get the guys, do you think that's enough to turn this team around and have us being competitive again next year? Do you see a turnaround happening next year? Or do you think that this is a thing that's going to take possibly into year 2 with the new head coach? What do you guys think on that?
No, I mean, I would just say 1,000% they could. I mean, you still got to understand. I mean, they lost a lot. Neal and Tank, Parsons, Sam Williams, Bland. J. Lou's been out. You had. I was at the game. Monday night. At one point, they had 3 backup offensive linemen in the game. There's talent on this team. Injuries definitely hurt them. But that's that. I mean, I don't know if they would have been that good if healthy, just because the stuff that we kind of talked about. But if you get a coach in here and you have a good draft and you get pieces, and it's the backups that you could see. When we had to get to the depth, man, the drop off was tremendous. We could get there. Absolutely. Now the schedule is going to be a little tough next year. Now we're playing the AFC West next year, so maybe the record doesn't show it, but this team 100% can. There's a reason why you see the Commanders that were 4 wins had 7 wins. There's a reason why you see some of these teams, the Broncos that were 5 wins. No one thought you can flip it. The NFL is made to flip it quick. They're going to have cap money. They're going to have plenty of cap money. They can easily get it done. But the $1 million question and the $1 million thing would Jerry do a 180? Who is he going to hire? No. Will it be the right decision? Because if it's not, and there's rumors, there was talk that, he's just going to bring McCarthy back. If he does that, and I don't hate McCarthy. I like McCarthy. If you do that after you leave him on a lame duck year and you let all this turmoil come on, and then you say, we're going to give you a new contract, that'll be the biggest slap in the face to him, and it'd be the biggest slap in the face to all these fans. And if I was him, I'd say F you. And if the fans, I think that's when the pitchforks come out. I mean, we're going around that stadium, and we'll burn it down for him. You know what I mean? All kidding aside, I don't want anyone here, the police to come get me. But you know what I'm saying? It is. Yeah. I mean, it is crazy if that were to happen. They need to gut it, and I don't know. But
but if they were to do that with Mike McCarthy got to throw the middle finger and walk out.
But here's the whole thing about your premise, Kelly. The op word is if. If Jerry did everything that you set this question up for, of course we'll be successful. If he did everything you set this question up for, absolutely will be successful.
Well, because the reason I asked that, Greg, is because there. I don't think there are some teams that are so fundamentally flawed that are going to be picking within the top 5 of this draft, top 5, 10. They will not turn it around in 1 year. But I suppose want to know if you think that the Cowboys, because I'm kind of with Mike. I kind of think that could happen.
Yeah, but like I said, part of your premise was if Jerry gives them the opportunity to coach. If Jerry stays out of it, if Jerry lets them pick their staff. See, if is the operative word in here. The draft, I'm not even concerned about the draft. We picked pretty well in the draft. It's the if Jerry relinquishes the reins, That's the biggest issue. And one thing I've been seeing in the media lately, and I've been wanting to throw at my television, Mike Greenberg need to shut his scrawny ass little mouth. They got nothing else in the media to talk about. He's the only one. I think they need to trade Micah Parsons so they can have cap money to do this. And no matter what Jeff Saturday and the rest of those Foxworth, no matter what they tell him from the football experience about, no, you do not trade Micah Parsons. Greeny just got it stuck in this little scrawny ass side.
He's
that
a
he
Jets fan.
He keeps bringing it up. Yeah,
Probably
and then you know what's so sad about the media and the analysts? When they get on First Take or they get on Greeny and they start talking about it because they got nothing else to talk about, they start coming up with a scenario like that. The more it is said, the more legs it gets. And before you know it, the only owner in 32 owners that I can see letting that permeate in his mind and start to think about doing something like that would be Jerry Jones. I could see Jerry Jones after hearing that for about 3 weeks thinking, that might not be a bad idea. Let Michael go. And then I spent all this money. I can see Jerry Jones falling for Greeny's bull. I can see him doing that. And Greeny needs to shut up.
If it was that easy for the media to manipulate Jerry, I think he would have made a trade before, and it wouldn't have been for that. What was that receiver that we got for a goddamn fucking 4th round pick? Mingo?
Yeah,
I mean,
Mingo.
The media was saying that Jerry should have traded for a big time wide receiver. They're like, Jerry needs to make a move now, and I wish that would have permeated with that son bitch.
But the problem,
let me tell you on Mingo, because I was at the game. I don't know what you saw on TV. He had his guy beat off the line. He looked good. I'm just going to be honest, and he was open, and I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, Cooper Rush sucks. I mean, that could be for another show. I don't know about him yet. I mean, 4th round, I wouldn't have done it. I think
I'm not giving up on him. I'm just saying, out of all the guys that we could have had, it was like that was Jerry's move to overpay and spend. You know, what it was.
But see, Jerry sees dollars. Jerry sees dollars, and Greeny talking all that mess about getting rid of Micah. Jerry sees money. He sees how much money he's got to pay Micah to keep him. All Jerry sees is the money. That's why I say I'm not saying it happened. I could say I could possibly see Jerry falling for that BS from Greeny was a little scrawny ass, because Jerry sees money. He sees money first, Parsons second. Oh yeah, I can get rid of Parsons and then save all this money from having to pay Parsons. I can see him, but all this other stuff about going out getting another player and getting Derrick Henry, Jerry doesn't see money involved in that.
So what's crazy about it is that money, you know, that salary money he's saving up, it don't go into Jerry's pocket. It just stay there on the cap. So it's like, why the hell does that benefit Jerry? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get what you're saying, but Jerry, it's like, why the hell you don't get to roll? You can only roll so much of that over into the next year. All that cap. I mean, they got a bunch of it, but you do have to spend a certain amount of it before the new calendar year starts. So it looks like they're going to have to probably sign Parsons, at least a part of that money. But you're like, that's what I've been questioning myself. Is like, why does Jerry want to bankroll cap money? What?
Because Jerry likes
not serve him except to tank and to have a horrible season like he's having this year. But you have to think that next year that he's going to have to be willing to spend money. And maybe that's what he's deciding to do, is roll all this money up, save all this money so that he can have his new head coach come in with a wealth of riches and a top 10 draft pick and say, hey, we're going to run this thing back. Maybe that's why I went by all in. He said, we all in. He didn't tell us we're all in tank mode. All in tank
Kelly,
mode.
Please don't hold your breath. Please don't hold your breath, because I'll be at your funeral wearing black. Do not do that, because Jerry Jones, if you think that's what he's doing, you know, it sounds good. It sounds good. And if he does that,
got a lot of money.
And the premise of your question, that means next year we going to the Super Bowl. as us.
And I'd say this, there was, you know, we talked about the cap too, you know, this weekend with a couple people, and I didn't know this, and I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but I was, you know, it was kind of brought up because I was like, man, why isn't Bland back yet? Why is it taking so long? And it was brought up that if a player is out a certain period of time, there's some cap relief that gets credited back to your cap to give you more space next year for what you lost this year by a player. Again, that was an insider, who I think I believe in everything that he said. But I'm just saying, so because I'm wondering where the hell are these guys? I mean, how is Blanda was supposed to be back week 5 and we're in week 10, and now I see he's finally practicing, and then you saw what's his name was out 5 weeks, and obviously Tank was having, so he's out, and so you just wonder the strategy of what they're doing. It's the same thing with Daniel Jones. The Giants benched him man, they benched him. He's not doing good. No, they benched him because there's clauses in his contract that could void out years for playing time. And that's what they did. And that's why a lot of veteran players are pissed off about it. So you always have to be careful of how the ownership and how these GMs play this game. It could end up backfiring them on how players perceive the organization. But, the whole thing is, like you said, it's going to come down to Jerry. It's going to come down to what he's going to do. Has he hit rock bottom enough to be able to make these changes within himself? Now, most of us, as we get older, I'll be honest, I do the same shit I do. You know what I mean? My mind is the same. I always go back to my same routine. It's just like Mike Tyson said, and I know you guys dogged the fight. I was there. I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. I know it was, a 58-year-old man, but to see Mike Tyson come out, I don't know. For me, that was nostalgia. It was worth it. And it was a fun time, but I get what you guys are saying. It was a fraud. But that's what you just got to see is it's all on Jerry. I mean, this whole thing is on Jerry and how he's going to be, and will he change?
And Daniel Jones, a number of reasons they put him on the bench is the same exact reason Peyton put Wilson on the bench, because he has a clause that if he gets injured, it's guaranteed. He gets injured, it's guaranteed money. And they know right now they blew it by getting rid of Saquon and paying Jones all that money. Now it's taking them this long to realize we gonna have to get rid of him, period. So let's put him on the bench now, because if he plays the rest of the season, he gets injured, that's guaranteed money. And that's what Peyton was smart about and did with Wilson to make sure Wilson didn't get hurt, because if Wilson would have got hurt, guaranteed money. And by putting him on the bench, it saved that because he wasn't gonna get hurt. Now, Jerry has to finally, somewhere in his crystal ball of ignorance, he has to have one of these years where he just finally says, enough is enough. I am going to step aside in the role of being the overseer micromanaging once we get a coach. So I will not, and I mean this, I will not be surprised one bit if he goes out there and gets another washed up coach to save $35.
Ron Rivera, 2025.
I will not be surprised whatsoever if the blueprint of Jerry Jones continues year after year. It's a shame when you have that much talent in your organization to play on that field and you don't do anything to develop it. Nothing. But try to micromanage it. When you do that, you are ruining these players' careers. You're ruining your own franchise, and you're never going to win consistently. Never going to win. And that's where he's at. And I'm 64 years old. I'm thinking, if we go by the natural order of life, I should outlive Jerry. And if I do, maybe I'll get the opportunity to see a Dallas Cowboy, where the Dallas Cowboy organization without Jerry Jones at the top. And finally, all of those vacant offices where normal management has, all those vacant offices will finally be filled. And once they're filled, all of a sudden the culture and the dynamics of this team changes so dramatic that now we're somebody to be reckoned with. And
you know what? That's a dream that I want to live, man. But in a Dallas Cowboys franchise where we've seen nothing but nepotism, I feel like you got Steven as your next guy up. And I feel like Steven thinks he's smart enough, and I feel like he's probably going to train his son, Steven Jr., to feel like he's smart enough. I don't know, man. I mean, you never know, man. Al Davis kicked the bucket, and look what happened to the Raiders. But I still really haven't done much of anything. So Al Davis is gone. But, it's one of those things where you hear from certain people, and you don't know how true that may be, but you hear rumors that Steven's worse than Jerry. So
yeah, that's what I used to hear.
I don't know how true that is. But damn, man, sometimes when you look at the situation and just how bad it's been, it's just almost one of those things where you're like, I don't know if it's going to get better, but we got a super chat. So shout out to Chris Warden. We got a super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. It says, evening, boys. After all these years of doing things his way, I don't expect Jerry to change anytime soon. However, I've seen the fan base and turn on him like they have this year. So who knows? I've never seen the fan base turn on him like they have this year. So yeah, and I agree. I mean, I keep saying, man, people always keep talking about the whole boycott thing. They say the boycott, that's the only way that you're going to create change. Unfortunately, you cannot boycott the most popular franchise in the entire world, not just the United States, the entire world. Cowboys are a global brand because for every one of us diehards that we have, there's probably 15 casual fans that just buy the merchandise, and every once in a while they get to go to a game, and that's a super cool experience for them, regardless of if the Cowboys are winning or not. And so they outnumber us diehard fans that are willing to be like, even if us guys that are willing to be like, you know what, I'm not gonna buy any merchandise. I'm not gonna go to the games. I'm not gonna contribute. So for every one of us, there's 15, if not 20 other fans that are willing to step right in our place and say, I'll buy the merchandise. So you can't affect it with that. I keep saying you got to go after the man's ego. I love that fans are showing up with paper bags on their heads. I did a post-game video with a paper bag on my head. I love that. I love seeing some of the empty seats. I love seeing the opposing fans take over. I love hearing the boos when we're booing because this team should be booed. They really should. If you're getting paid millions of dollars and this is a product you're putting on the field, you should get booed because those players, they're not all 53 of them doing the job. There are some of them that going out there playing hard, but they understand that's not who we're booing. We're not booing you guys. We're booing the ones that are out there just half-assing it, just thinking about where they're going to go pop their next bottle of Cristal after the goddamn game because that's what it's all about. As long as I got my paycheck, fuck everybody else. That's what we're booing, right? And I think that's what's affecting Jerry. I think the media questioning him constantly, the media calling him a piss poor general manager. Those are the things that are hitting his ego. It's not his wallet book because you ain't affecting Jerry's wallet book. He's a billionaire, man. So even if you took $100 million, that's like if somebody took $100 from me. You're not really going to affect me that bad because that's small in terms of what he's worth.
Right.
Ego. Go after Jerry's ego, and I love to see the fans going after his ego. Right. I love to see the media doing it. Because I guarantee you that is a hit on his ego. He hears that. It's annoying. You can hear it in his voice when he talks after the games. He's becoming increasingly annoyed. I mean, that's the kind of things that people are questioning him. And when you think you're the smartest man in the room and everybody's questioning you and you don't got yes man sitting there kissing your ass, that's when your ego starts to take a hit. Maybe I'm not the smartest man in the room. Maybe I am doing things wrong. So Jerry Jones got to take a real hard look in the mirror. We all realize that he's the biggest part of the problem right now. He's got to take a really hard look in the mirror and figure out, do I want to keep doing things my way and having people and not succeeding, or do I maybe want to change something up because I recognize that I did something wrong this year? And
what about that guy? What about
the top 5 draft pick team?
What about that guy that showed up at Frisco with the sign and the local television stations? The local television stations really pushed it. Remember when he said,
Steven.
That's another part of what you're talking about, how the media and everything is highlighted right on Jerry this year, more so than it's ever been, because we've never had somebody do that. Now the radio interview, the constant TV analyst doing it, Stephen A. constantly referring to Jerry himself, everybody else, he's finally got the bullseye on him, way much more bullseye targeted on him than he's ever had before. And who knows, Kelly, just like you said, maybe that's the trick. Maybe that'll do it.
That's the only way you can do it. I mean, and you look at this team. I did an analysis of last 20 years, and the Cowboys, they rank in the top 10 in wins in the last 20 years at any franchise. Every franchise that was in the top 10 won a Super Bowl except for the Cowboys, Dolphins, and Vikings. that were ranked in the top 10. I mean, so it's very, very small portion that has been consistent winners and that have they got zero to show for it. And that's the problem with the Cow. And again, it goes down to culture, because how does this happen? Like, I mean, how do these teams, you luck into it? I mean, you get on a run and you luck into it. And that's the most frustrating part for Cowboys fans, because they've only had 3 losing seasons in the last 20 years. This will
20
be
years,
4.
right? We had 20 successful years.
No, I'm saying like last 20 years of this era only had 3 losing seasons. I mean, this team has been a winning team in the regular season, but it doesn't get done in the playoffs. And that, to me, you know, it's the culture, it's the thought, it's I'm all in mentality. It's the Rams, F the draft picks. They're going to go out and get guys to put them up. You know what I mean? It's that the San Francisco 49ers making trades to maybe they work, maybe they don't. The Philadelphia Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl that year, they made trades late in the year. They were struggling on defense. If you remember with their line, they made moves. Think about Dallas last year. It was there. It was there. What was our concern? Can't run the ball consistently, but more importantly, we can't stop the run. They did zero to address it. We had safeties playing linebackers because all our linebackers are hurt. That's the problem. It comes down to Jerry. It's always going to come down to him. And Kelly, I agree with it. The heat that you could put on him is just to continue what everyone's doing. I was at the game, and I know people say, hey, why you go to the game? Let me just tell you, it ain't that easy. You book your flights, you book your hotel months in advance. I'm not losing thousands of dollars so I have 2 empty seats that I already paid for just to prove a point. Ain't gonna happen. I'll do a walkout if you guys want to do that. I have no problem with that. But that's the thing. But it's good to see if you're local and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to go to the game. Fine. But Jerry's already got his money because all the seats are already paid for. That's the thing. The only people getting screwed right now are season ticket holders. I've got games because I hold games with the thoughts of, hey, I'm going to, Cincinnati, that's going to be a good game. Last minute, I'm going to go 2 weeks, I'll decide. Well, I'm burning money right now. I can't give them away. You know what I mean? It's like I'm going to lose money on these tickets that I've got left, and it sucks for the fans. I mean, it sucks for the fans that they're put in this position because I feel for them because it had cost a shit ton of money to go to these games and to see that product. I mean, it was my son and I we're sitting there watching the game. It was like zombies. It was a whole stadium. And then it's like you got the Houston fans that won the goddamn Super Bowl, and you have to sit there and you have to take it. I mean, I'm a good sport, so I'll listen to it. But it's like we're getting laughed at by these teams, and every game is a Super Bowl for them. I mean, you saw it, Kelly. We're interacting with these guys on here. I mean, they didn't want to talk about the ass beating they got from the Jets. They're worried about beating a 3-7 football team that ain't even in their conference. Don't even matter. So, I mean, it's frustrating. And this has been, I said the playoff game was the most frustrating game of my life as a fan. This is the most frustrating season because I think you said it earlier, Kelly. Maybe I was on, maybe I wasn't. Those 5-11 teams, they fought. I mean, and you knew we were outmanned, right? We knew we had Hutchins, we had Winston, we had Ryan Leaf, you had Troy Hamburgers. You're right. We knew we were outmanned, but damn it, those guys fought. That defense fought. Those players fought. Everything that I've seen, the last, and what I've heard this past weekend from people, I mean, this team has quit. This team has quit.
They have
quit. Team has quit. And like you said, I don't know if they win another game. I'll be shocked.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
I hope they win Sunday because I just want to beat Washington. I want to shut them up.
Exactly. So I was just going to ask because I mean we've been on here talking for a little bit, so we can't finish this show without talking the rest of the week. And it's coming up. So. What's you guys' I'll go last here. What's you guys' opinion going into this week, man? Do you think we got a shot to beat the Redskins, the whatever the hell you want to call them,
the Commanders? Well, I'll tell you this. For one, before I answer that, I guarantee you all the coaches on that staff and even some players, they're calling their agents if they haven't been doing it already. They're calling their agents to find out if they got an exit plan somewhere else where they might be welcome, especially those coaches. I know that they're looking for the exit plan. But as far as the Commanders, if we had half of our injured players back, I would feel far more optimistic about our opportunity to beat the Commanders. Right now, not only are we devastated as far as how we play, we are far more devastated right now because of the amount of injuries we have. Bland may be coming back. Cooks is coming back.
Neal in practice.
Yeah, Marshawn.
Tyler Smith and Zach Martin both have ankle and leg injuries. Guyton's not coming back. I mean, with what we have right now and the motivation in DC with that team, even if the guys that are going to play in that game played the best they can, unfortunately, I don't see us winning it. I don't. I wish we had half of our injured people coming back, and then it give us a better chance of possibly getting over the Commanders. But I don't see it. I don't see it unless there is a big change of events. The Commanders suffer some catastrophic injuries during the game, and our guys all of a sudden get a euphoria that we've never seen before. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Will I be hoping for it, wishing for it? Yes, but I don't see it. I don't see it in Rush, who looked to me scared to death at home, let alone go to DC. I didn't see Trey Lance do anything. I didn't see anything changing in the offensive scheme. I didn't see Lamb quit pouting on the field. I just didn't see it, and I don't expect it at the Commanders game. The best time of this season that I had the most optimism was during the bye. I felt, they're going to come back after these 2 weeks, and they are going to be ready. They came to Jesus. They had their meetings. They're going to come out fired up. And then when they played the 49ers that first half, I said, see, I knew they were ready. I knew they were coming out of this bye. They're ready to play. And then the second half, they got blown the hell out. And ever since, it's been the same way. So I don't see it. I don't see it with Commanders.
Yeah, they're 10-point underdogs is really hard to see in the NFL. Very rare that you get double-digit teams giving up that much. And to the point, they're going to be outmanned. I mean, they'll probably get Bland back, probably get Cooks back. Guyton did practice. I was just kind of checking the report. The other thing I would want to say is just on Zach Martin. That guy, and this is kind of was the disappointing part too. That guy has been, his body's been ripped apart, this year, and he is coming back and practicing. And to see, and when I heard those stories and you see that stuff, and then you see a guy like Zach Martin just giving it his all, and he's definitely a shell of himself. I mean, he's not a difference maker anymore with all the injuries and just everything. This is probably going to be his last year. It makes it even harder. So my wallet would tell you that they don't stand a chance. The Washington team, if we could run the ball, Washington does not have a good run defense. I mean, their run defense per yards per carry is worse than ours, if you can actually believe that. Their quarterback rating given up is worse than ours, if you can believe that too. So their defense can be scored upon. The problem is we don't have the quarterback to do it. If it were me, I would love to see Trey Lance in there. I don't know if he's any better or any worse, but at least he can make moves with his legs. And what do you got to lose at this point? I wish they'd put him in, but they're not. So I don't really see a chance. I will say this. I did make a small wager on Dallas to win, and only because the win straight up, a very little bit paid a pretty damn good return. So I threw money on that, and I don't bet on Dallas much, but the money line, a straight up win was too good to pass up. So I did make a small donation, maybe, or hopefully it'll be a return.
Well, Cuts nailed it. Cuts nailed it. We are hurting physically. We are hurting spiritually in this organization. That says it right there.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think, Kelly?
I don't. You already know where I'm at. I've said it at the beginning of the show. We talked about it, Mike, and I told Greg. Remember after that Lions beatdown when they beat the living shit out of us? That's when I threw in the towel on the season and said it's over. And I said, look, our next 5 games were against the Niners, Falcons, Eagles, Texans, and Commanders. They said, what do you think your record will be? I said 0-5. We are 0-4 right now. I think the Commanders finish off and put us to that 0-5 record. I just don't see it happening. I think the Commanders this year are a better team than us. top to bottom. I think they're they've got a coach that motivates them that I think we're really missing in a Dan Quinn. After watching that beat down and the way we got beat defensively, who would have thought that Dan Quinn would be the piece that we'd be missing on that coaching staff, because the players, I feel like that they really miss him. I don't
think this team is talented. I don't think he'd be doing anything with this
I don't know.
defense.
I'm not saying he would be the fix-all for this team. I just, people had talked about would Dan Quinn have been the right hire to be head coach.
We'll never know.
If they wouldn't have, if the thing here's this, if they did exactly the same thing they did with Mike McCarthy, then no, it wouldn't matter who the head coach is going to be, because I don't think any head coach really is going to overcome any of the shit that happened this year, because it was just negligent by Jerry Jones. But now if he would have fired everybody, hired Dan Quinn and said, hey, bring your own staff in. Dan Quinn gets to bring in a Cliff Kingsbury. He gets to bring in his own guys, make his own moves, get some free agents. Then yes, I think this team would be competing for, they'd be right there. They'd be a Super Bowl contender, just like the Lions are, just like currently the Eagles may be, no matter what, regardless of what anybody thinks. They're playing really well right now. And I think you'd have to put the Cowboys in there if those things had happened, because I do think that Dan Quinn is showing himself to be a good head coach in the year one. I think you put the right kind of people around him, and I think that he really has that team rallied behind him right now and playing well. So I don't, as far as the Cowboys winning, I really don't know that we win another game this season. If we are going to, I'd say possibly against the Carolina Panthers. I know a lot of people are saying, well, the Giants, we always beat the Giants, but maybe this year's the year that they break that, because I don't even know that we beat the Giants at this point. We're just too banged up. We're too bruised up. And Mike McCarthy's game plan is complete shit. The fact that Cooper Rush threw 40-some passes in that game is ridiculous, man. I know we can't run the ball, and that is part of what leads to Cooper, but I mean, dude, 40 passes by Cooper Rush. That was not the game plan in 2022 when Cooper Rush came in and relieved Dak Prescott. That wasn't the game plan. Obviously, it was a different team, but Cooper Rush was throwing about 22 passes a game. It wasn't very much. You can't have Cooper Rush out there throwing 40 passes a game and think that you're going to win a ball game playing like that. It's just not going to happen.
And he threw for 354 yards, I think. But you're right. You can't throw that many. And out of them 40, he probably didn't complete but about a third of them. But James Bowie, I saw him here in the chat. He was saying JJ is getting WTF what he deserves. You're right. Now, the second part of your comment about not giving a damn about the Cowboys anymore. I feel where you're coming from, but not me. My heart's gonna always be with the Cowboys, the players. But you're right. Jerry's finally getting what he deserves. But Dan Quinn, no, right now, I can see Dan Quinn talking to his players in their meetings. I'm boy, we got them boys this week. And I want us to embarrass them boys. I can't wait till we play the Cowboys, fellas. Y'all fired up? I know I bet every player on his team is more fired up to play us this weekend more than they've been fired up to play anybody this season. And these guys are going to come out in this game in D.C. Sunday. They are going to come out more motivated and energized and ready to beat us like a drum than they've played anybody this season. And you better believe they are going to leave it all on the field against us, man. And it may be extremely embarrassing to have to watch it. It may be another Tyson fight, but not Jake Paul fighting against them, one of these real heavyweights fighting against them.
I wish he had that. I wish he had that passion and motivation before the Packers game and before the Bills game and before every other game we got our ass blown out and run all over against the Cardinals. I wish Quinn had that, because I will say, I mean, and DJ, man, I love you, but the team's missing the swagger and toughness from Quinn attitude. Where the hell was that? This team has been soft for years. This team has showed me the toughness. We got slapped around by San Francisco in our own crib in the playoff game. I remember that one. And they came out and just absolutely bullied us all over the field. There is no toughness. There is no swagger that he brought. This team, like I said, and I'm not blaming Quinn. Understand that. The problem is, like what we talked about, you've got a culture problem. This team is soft, and they've been soft, and it's because it starts at the top. There is no accountability. I could say so much, but I'm not going to do it about the shit that is in this team. It almost to a point where I'd almost blow the whole damn thing up and get rid of everybody.
That's how
and the other thing too, though, when we talk about Quinn, though, is and I don't know, because I don't recall him ever complaining about it. But when he went to Washington, the first thing he did is he went out and got prototypical linebackers. So was the personnel that we had on defense that by his choice, or is that something kind of forced?
No, that was Jerry. Our linebackers are hurt. He didn't get.
So when I look at some of that, I think that if we would have given Dan Quinn his full arsenal and given him the ability to get line, because like I said, the first thing he did when he got to Washington is bring in a couple linebackers that were prototypical linebackers, and you're like, oh shit, he actually.
Who did he get? Who did he get? Who was the one linebacker he got?
He got
from Seattle, Wagner.
Seattle. How many times did we hear
Seattle.
Bobby Wagner was coming to Dallas and it never happened? Do you think that was Dan Quinn's choice? I mean,
nope.
That's been the problem. That's why, and I see, and I know we're running long, so we got to get out of here. But it's the same thing with Zimmer. It's like I'm not blaming Zimmer for the shit that he was given.
Right.
I mean, they lost all their depth, and then they had injuries, and they did nothing to address it. I don't blame one coach on this team. I blame one man, and that's the GM. He put this shit together, and that's what they got to deal with. I don't blame these coaches, man. I know the coaches are going to get the heat, but I don't blame these coaches, man. This was shit from the beginning, with Jerry not addressing any free agents, trying to make this team got worse than last year because we lost all our depth, and he didn't replace them with anybody with some bargain basement shopping it right before the season started.
And Jerry
ain't even on the team.
And Jerry, in none of his interviews, has directed any of the responsibility on the coaches. He hasn't directed it on the coaches, where typically he says something snide and off the cuff. He hasn't, because he knows it's not them. It's exactly what you said. Jerry gave them what he wanted them to have. He didn't give them freedom. Dan Quinn, when he left and got to Washington, they said, do what you want. Paint this portrait the way you want. He was like, freedom.
And he changed the culture.
And he changed the culture because he has the authority now to go and do it. And and that motivated the players. But not when you come to Dallas. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that at Dallas. And you never will get to do that at Dallas. So these boys are going to put it on our ass this weekend. Woo! In DC too. Man, Cowboy fans going to that game, they're going out of pride.
I don't think Cowboys are going to that game.
But the ones that are going out of pride. They're going out of pride because they stick with us.
Well, I hope the ones that go. I hope the ones that go. One, I hope they have a good time out there and just try to understand it's about it. Even if you can't enjoy the moment because it's gonna be a shit product put on the field. Know that you're doing Cowboys a service if you go out there and take them brown paper bags, put them over your heads, let Jerry know. Continue to take this shit show on the road. I mean, it's a bad thing right now. But again, like we've been talking about, we got to continue to put pressure on Jerry by voicing our displeasure, because now more than ever, with podcasts, with social media, we can reach the ears of Jerry a lot more than when it used to be just the newspapers that were writing articles and talking about things. That noise was not as loud. Right now, the noise around the Cowboys is at a fever pitch, whether if it's ESPN, FS1, Cowboys Cave podcast, Twitter, Instagram, everything. Everybody is fed up. They're tired of Jerry's shit. And we got to just keep pushing it on Jerry, and we're going to keep pushing through this thing, and we're going to get through it together. And this is what it's all about. Mike, I know you went down to the game. You were at the Texas game, and like you said, you were down there because of reasons. But again, you get to continue making those connections. You get to hear stories that you have heard. Those stories that you heard that you're able to share with us tonight might make your stomach a little bit sick, but at least it gives us and these fans, a little bit of insight into kind of what's going on within this Cowboys organization. And all we can do at this point is hope for the better.
You're giving me an idea that I'm wrestling with now that you said that. But I'm committed enough to where I would do it. I've never done this in the history of knowing the Cowboys since the 70s. But I am that close to getting a brown paper bag and putting on the front. I mean it, and putting on the front in bold marker. Jerry, you did this shit. and draw some tears and put on my uniform and do a hype video here and have my wife to walk in and say, "Hon, are you gonna do it?" And grab that bag and do it. And do it. Because
it's all there. I mean, we've all been there. Kelly did it. I mean, I did it back in the was it the COVID year where we just were terrible? I did the entrance with the bag over the head. I mean, we all got to get there, right? You see it at the stadium. Yep. We're to that point where, I mean, it's embarrassing and we're prideful. I mean, I think about the passion that you have, Greg, and the passion Kelly has. Obviously, the passion I have, and all these people in the chat, all the people that we've met, these are people that care. I mean, and love their cow. And to get you to a point where my man Kelly has got to put a bag over his head to drink a beer and sit there and look at that, that's embarrassing. And for you to contemplate, for me to do it, for these fans to have to do it, that is just, it breaks my heart as a fan, because we bleed, silver and blue, and we love this team, and we got to take the shit from all these people, and that's fine. It's like I told people, man, it is what it is. If I got to take my lumps this year, that's fine, as long as there's something at the end that is going to get better. And if we have to take it this year and hit rock bottom and to get Jerry's message and we all get on board with it and we just hammer it, hey, if he finally get some sense, then this year would be worth it. If it meant a Super Bowl championship, I'd deal with it and I'd accept it. But it's heartbreaking to hear that my man Greg, the ultimate cave, is you're going to sit there with a bag on your head. It hurts.
I'm gonna do it. I'm not. It's sunk in now. I'm doing it. It. Damn it! Everybody, get ready. I'm doing it, and I'm gonna paint it up good. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
We'll stand by.
Get his attention.
We're gonna be waiting with bated breath.
It's happened. If I say it's gonna happen, I'm a man of my word. I am doing it this weekend in full uniform. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
and Jerry, I hope you see it.
Well, hey, I don't know. I got it. I love you guys, but it's getting late, so I have
to get out too. That's I was just gonna wrap it up. I was gonna say. Thanks for letting me run the show, man. You
give the exit. I was just going to say, you give the exit. I just want to say to Michael, go back and watch. We talked a lot about Dion and Shador. So if you came in late, Michael, go back and check it out. And we had a lot to say about it. We don't want to rehash it because we're getting out. But Kelly, this is your show. You did a beautiful job being the host. We love it. Greg, again, the Cowboys K family. Kelly, I'm going to even let you end the stream and everything. So if you fuck it up, it's going to be on you.
All right. Well, hey, listen, first of all, I just want to say thank you for everybody that's tuning in tonight. I know that this thing might not have been the best way that we wanted to have a season play out, but you know what? You guys are showing up for us, and you do this over and over again. You show up for us. You interact with us. And we vent and we go through this thing together, man. And it's Cowboys Cave Therapy. We'll be here every week, multiple times a week, because you can get us on Mondays, you can get us on the Wednesdays, you can get them on Sunday mornings. You might get an occasional pop in by Mike, just random pop ins. You never know where Mike will be. He's Mr. Worldwide. But listen, we ride this thing together. We're going to continue doing it because that's what true blue fans do. We'll be back next week. Watch for Greg, though. Paper bag over the head, it's Greg. Happening. I'm going to be watching for that.
It's happening.
But Cowboys Nation, until the next time, man, like I always say, hold your tears and drink your beers. We out.
Brown bag special, baby.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.